Hi everybody, I thought I would share with you today a book from our Collins ebook subscription. So a lot of you will have received your logins for this, or you will have received them, or you'll be in the process of receiving them this week. And we really want to use that service because there's lots of terrific books on there for you to read and enjoy. I'm going to read one of them now. Quite a famous story called The Emperor's New Clothes. I hope you enjoy. Chapter 1. The Emperor of San was a very proud man. His empire stretched 5,000 kilometers in every direction, from snow-topped mountains in the north to the golden beaches of the southern coast, from dunes in the east to the deep western forest. He lived in a fine palace in the city of Bloch, with his wife Ingrid, his soldiers, and many servants. The emperor didn't care if his people were happy. He wasn't interested in fighting wars. He never read his advisors' reports on the failing wheat harvest or the rising tides. He didn't even care for his beautiful palace. All he cared about were clothes. His wardrobes were so stuffed the doors wouldn't shut. He had cloaks of fur and velvet in every shade of blue and green and pink and purple. He had waistcoats embroidered with pictures of his own face. His underwear alone took up half a room. Spotty woolly vests and stripy long johns. In matching colours, of course. Every New Year, the Emperor walked through the city of Bloch at the head of a grand parade. "But I've nothing at all to wear," he whined one year. Emperors always have whiny voices. "Ingrid, this is an emergency. Bring me a dressmaker at once. I must have new clothes." Chapter 2. Far from the palace lived two dressmakers' sisters, bold Asta and careful Anita. Asta wove cloth on her loom with fingers that flew. Anita neatly cut and sewed and stitched, but they were so poor they often had no wool to weave into cloth, or thread to stitch it. And when the coal for the fire ran out, their hands were too stiff to work. If only it could be us, sighed Anita, when she heard the Emperor wanted a new dressmaker. "But he'll expect silk or furs. We could never..." But Asta smiled slyly. "Oh, sister, I've an idea. And the Emperor, he'll never see it coming." Every dressmaker in Bloch came to the palace, but not one outfit was good enough for the Emperor. "Too orange, too flouncy, too short. I fear my ankles will be chilly. Don't you think so, Sir Boris?" Sir Boris was the Emperor's favourite advisor, for he always said whatever the Emperor most wanted to hear. "Quite so, Your Imperial Majesty," he said, bowing. "I shall have the dressmakers locked up at once for chilling your ankles." The Emperor slumped on his golden throne. "Is there no one else?" "Two sisters, sir," said Sir Boris doubtfully. "From the market district." The Emperor sighed. "Bring them in," he said. Anita gasped as they were led into the fine throne room. The Emperor himself was there. Asta strode forward boldly. "Observe, sir, the beautiful cloth we've made for you. The turquoise threads, this bronze embroidery." She held out her arms. They were quite empty. "Oh," she said with a twinkle in her eye, "I forgot to say, our cloth is very special. It's invisible to anyone stupid or unworthy." Anita trembled, certain they'd be thrown out or worse. But no one wanted to seem stupid or unworthy. Least of all, the Emperor. "I love it," he squeaked. "You will make my new clothes." So, Baba. So. Chapter 3. The Emperor gave the sisters 3 bags of gold as payment for his new clothes. It was more money than Anita had ever seen. They spent it on food and enough coal to keep the fire burning all winter. 3 days later, back in the palace, the Emperor began to worry. "Sir Boris, go to those dressmakers and check on my new clothes. Sir Boris knocked hard on the sisters' door. Anita grew frightened, but Asta was as bold as ever. "Come in, sir. As you can see, the robes are coming along splendidly. See the pearl buttons, the silvery thread here, like spiders' webs." Of course, there was nothing to see but an empty wooden coat hanger. But Sir Boris was so afraid of looking stupid that he smiled and nodded as if he could see robes decorated like spiders' webs with pearl buttons. "Ladies, your skill is remarkable," he said, bowing deeply. "I'll report back to the Emperor at once and assure him all's well with his new clothes." After he was gone, Anita clapped her hands with joy. "Oh, Asta, I think your plan is working." She made hot chocolate to everyone in their cold, dark streets, even little Krista, the street boy. She gave him the largest cup. Chapter 4. It was only 3 days till New Year. The Emperor was still worried. "Ingrid, go to those dressmakers and check on my robes." The sister showed her the same empty wooden coat hanger, but the Emperor's wife was so afraid of looking unworthy, she smiled as if she saw magnificent robes. "I'd love to add a hat of blue velvet," said Asta slyly, "but alas, we've run out of gold." Ingrid dashed back to the palace. Hours later, another bag of gold had arrived. The sisters bought enough food for a feast for the whole street. They had stew, hot potatoes, and chicken legs. Chapter 5. New Year came and a blanket of snow covered the city of Bloch. The Emperor wore his second favourite clothes for the palace feast, a purple furry jacket and yellow trousers. "These aren't my new clothes," he said loudly. "I'll have new clothes for the parade." The sisters were collected by carriage. They'd never ridden in one before, and Anita found it oh so exciting. And brought directly to the Emperor's own dressing room they were. Anita's hands wouldn't stop trembling as she held the empty wooden coat hanger. "Surely he'll realise," she whispered. "Now the parade's here." But Asta shook her head. "Trust me," she said. The Emperor skipped into the dressing room wearing nothing but his underwear, clapping his hands with excitement. Asta pretended to drape robes over his shoulder. Anita pretended to do up the pearly buttons. "It feels very light," said the Emperor, frowning as he turned this way and that before the mirror. All he could see was his underwear. "Magical cloth always feels light, sir," promised Anita nervously, "like spiders' webs." The Emperor remembered what the sisters had said. The cloth was only invisible to the stupid or unworthy. He couldn't admit to that. Asta bowed. "Your Majesty, your people will see a whole new side of you." Chapter 6. The Emperor strode through the palace in his underwear. His chest puffed out with pride. "Don't I look magnificent?" he asked, twirling before Ingrid, who was dressed in purple velvet. "Isn't this hat simply remarkable?" he asked Sir Boris, who wore golden furs. "Have you ever seen new clothes like these in your life?" he asked his soldiers, standing ready at the palace gate. All they could see was his underwear, but no one of them would dare to admit it. Bells rang out across Bloch to signal the start of the New Year parade. "At last," said the Emperor, "this parade will be the very best yet." Bloch was busy with parade music and bright flags. The streets were lined with people all wrapped up warm against the winter air. "Hello, my people, it is me, your beloved Emperor," he called, waving as he did. Everywhere he walked, there were gasps from the crowd. I know. I look truly amazing," he cried, twirling so that everybody could see his new clothes. All they could see was his underwear. But no one dared to say a word. A light snow began to fall. The emperor felt very cold indeed, as if he was wearing almost nothing at all. It's magical cloth, he reminded himself, just like a spider's web. I am wearing these magnificent clothes. The parade entered the dull, crooked streets of the market district. Krista, the little street boy, pushed to the front. That man's got no clothes on, he shouted, pointing his finger straight towards the emperor. The emperor froze. The crowd began to whisper, then giggled and laughed out loud. He's right, it's true. He's got no clothes on. Ha ha! The emperor looked down and saw what they all could see. His underwear on display for all to see. Oh, God's help! But his soldiers were laughing too. The emperor wrapped himself in a stripy blanket from a nearby market stall and ran away, yelping at the cold. The laughter rippled through Blotch all night long. In the market district there was dancing and music, a bonfire to warm the hands, and food and drink for all, bought with the emperor's gold. I still can't believe it worked, whispered Anita. Me neither, said Asta, laughing. That night the sisters went back to their cosy little home and slept oh so soundly. And the emperor? Well, he was never seen again. But if you visit the city of Blotch at New Year, you'll hear the laughter as someone walks the parade dressed in the emperor's new clothes. And that is a story shared from our new Collins ebook app. So I hope you really enjoy it when you get reading your own books, boys. And we've got different ways of reviewing your book and doing activities based on what you've read. So I and the other teachers look forward to reading that too. Right, Bells, say bye, Betty. Bye, guys.